Hey everybody, today I'm going to show you how you can add some dimension to your sentiments with your border dies. I'm going to be using a stamp set from Two Paper Divas today called Be the Reason. Here's a look at the card that we're going to make today, so let's go ahead and get started. So I've got my Misty out, and I've also got, there's a closer look at this stamp set there. The entire sentiment reads, Be the Reason Someone Smiles Today. A very nice sentiment to have on hand. And I've taken 4 pieces of cardstock that are all different shades of green from my stash, and I cut them each to 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 inches. They're all the same size, and I'm using my Misty because I want my sentiment to be stamped in exactly the same place on each piece of cardstock. So when I go to cut these apart, it will fit back together right. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink just to stamp my sentiments down, and I will just repeatedly stamp these on all the cardstocks, and there you can see they're all done. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set these aside to dry because I did use pigment ink, but I've got this Swiss Dots Cuttlebug embossing folder and an A2 top folding black card base, and I'm just going to emboss the front side of my card panel. Now when I put this through, I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention, and my dots ended up embossing the wrong way. So what I'm going to do to fix that and make my dots go the other way is just flip my card base around. I'll just flip that over so that's facing out and it's good to go. So now that my sentiments are the majority of the way dry, I have taped 2 of them together, making sure that they are perfectly aligned, and I've just put some masking tape on there to hold that in place. I've taken some Mama Elephant landscape border dies that have stitching on them, and instead of using them as landscapes, I'm going to be using them as kind of wonky stripes, I guess you could say. I will line that up on my rectangles there. I'll put some tape on that to hold that down, and then I'll run them through my die cutting machine. Now I need to make this the same all the way across on each of these, and my die will only cut 2 at a time. So once this is done, I will line this up with my other 2 rectangles, and I will make sure it's in exactly the same place. And if you hold it up next to the next one, it will fit right in there, so you can cut exactly the way it needs to be cut. Another way to do this that I found was to try to cut all 4 at once. It won't go through, but it will leave embossing on your back layer, so you can fit that right back in and then cut the next 2. That's another way I found that was a little bit easier to do. But I will just keep switching these up, and I end up making 3 cuts with these, so I have 4 pieces of the sentiment total. So 4 different color cardstocks, 4 different pieces of my sentiment. Now I've taken a piece of scrap green cardstock. I use green just in case any of it peeked through, and I'm going to start reassembling my sentiment using a color from each of the greens. And I will just alternate back and forth between having one flat and one popped up with some foam, just to give it a little bit more interest. And I want to make sure that these are aligned perfectly, so I'll go ahead and look straight over it just to make sure it's all lined up and you can still read the sentiment. And if I have any little leftovers hanging off the edge, I'll just use my scissors to trim that off. I'll finish up with that last piece on the top there, and then I've attached some double-sided adhesive to the back of that scrap cardstock that I put on the back, and I will attach that to a piece of gold glitter paper that is slightly larger than my sentiment panel. I've taken some fun foam and put double-sided adhesive on it. I'll put that on the gold glitter and then attach that to my top folding A2 card base. And that finishes the card off today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will leave you with just a few pictures. For more information and the complete supply list, you can visit my blog, craftingwhilecaffeinated.wordpress.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and happy crafting.